Department of Educational Psychology, just in case, verify you're in the correct room. We are going to go over just really quickly. Here's a general overview. What we're going to do, we're going to introduce kind of the current faculty, as well as myself, and a few of our student representatives. So we'll introduce them before going into a very brief presentation, and then we will have questions / an open discussion. Please have your mics muted for the presentation portion, and then as we get into questions and open discussion, you can unmute yourself or feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Okay, so here is an overview of our faculty, and if any of our faculty representatives would like to introduce themselves, we could start with Dr. Castro Villarreal, just because she's our graduate advisor of record. Dr. Castro Villarreal.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Felicia Castro Villarreal, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to take any questions as they come in and talk a little bit about our program.
Awesome, thank you so much. And we also do have Dr. Leslie Neely. Dr. Neely, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Neely. I'm the program director for the Behavior Analysis Program, and happy to meet you all, and hopefully one day we get to meet in person.
Awesome, thank you so much. Dr. Nichols?
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nichols. I'm in educational psychology and oversee the general concentration, which we'll talk about today, but I'm happy to be here, and like Dr. Neely, look forward to hopefully meeting you all in person soon.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let's also go ahead and have our student representatives introduce themselves. We have Edmund and Miranda. Edmund, would you like to start us off?
Hi, yeah. My name is Edmund. I'm currently a second year. I guess my practicum year just ended, but I'm currently about to start my internship. So I'm also the president of the School Psychology Graduate Student Organization. So ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Edmund. Thank you for being here, first off. And Miranda?
Hello, my name is Miranda Nunnery. I currently just finished my first year of my my master's in ed psych, excuse me. So I have 1 year left. I'm currently doing some grad research and just working for the school and figuring it out. So if y'all have any questions, I'll try my best.
Great, and thank you so much also for being here. We do also have Katie Cantrell. Would you, as a student representative, could you introduce yourself very briefly?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Katie Cantrell, and I graduated from the Educational Psychology Behavior Analysis Program with Dr. Neely, and I currently work for one of her many grant projects, so I can help answer any behavior analysis questions.
Awesome, thank you so much for being here. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into our presentation. So the Department of Educational Psychology, we do have a couple of programs available. We have a couple of graduate certificates, one in applied behavior analysis, language acquisition, bilingual psychoeducational assessment, and program evaluation, as well as our master's degrees. We have two programs, our school psychology program and our ed psych program. Underneath that ed psych program, there's going to be two separate concentrations that you could pursue. So you met the program coordinator for our general educational psychology track. That's going to be Dr. Nichols, and the program coordinator for our behavior analysis program behavior analysis concentration is going to be Dr. Leslie Neely. Okay. Just a couple of brief information about our admissions criteria. We do require an online application that is going to be done directly through our official website. So you wouldn't be able to find it on Apply Texas or anything like that. And I do have a link that I'll send this whole presentation to you guys after we conclude, just so you have it and you can go over it. We require transcripts, and it's a little bit tricky as far as official transcripts and, required test scores, especially with our response to COVID-19. As a few of you might have read in my previous emails, the graduate school has decided to temporarily waive those requirements. So instead of official transcripts, you can upload unofficial transcripts. Those will be used for application evaluation. And if you're admitted, then you will be required to submit those actual official transcripts. So, the university is just trying to adapt. As soon as I get information, I'll be trying to forward that to y'all, just so you can be aware of how we're requiring, of what we're requiring, I guess. So we do usually require GPA of at least a 3.0 in this last 60 semester credit hours. A 3.0 is required for you to be admitted clear, so without any conditions. If you have a GPA of a 2.7 to 2.99, you may be eligible to be admitted under academic probation. All that means is that you would have to maintain a 3.0 or better in your first 12 semester credit hours of coursework. So most of that is going to be probably split either between the first or second semesters of your program. Okay, we do also require a background in psychology, sociology, education, or related field. As I said about GRE scores, right now they are being waived. So we don't require GRE scores. I can't say whether moving forward, how the university is going to respond to that. The UTSA does have an awesome webpage specifically dedicated to announcements and things like that about the university's response to the pandemic. We also require 2 letters of recommendation, a 500-word statement of purpose. I've gotten a couple questions about exceeding the limit of the 500-word statement of purpose. I would say as long as it's not by too much, it should be fine. But just make sure to sufficiently address those 3 prompts that they want you to. Deadlines are going to vary by semester. It's always important for you to check the graduate school website. That's going to be the official deadlines for our programs. Okay, and like I said, financial aid is going to be primarily through it's going to be through FAFSA, but also if you have any questions about your financial aid, I would recommend that you contact our one-stop enrollment center. I know that they have a couple of ways for you to contact them. I think through phone, through chat, through email, and I think through a Zoom meeting as well. Graduate assistantships, they are competitive. And as soon as I get word that we are hiring or there is a position available, I usually will email all students with the position and how you would apply, who you would contact with any questions, things like that. Okay, and here we do have some helpful links. Like I said, one-stop enrollment services, Veterans Affairs, ETS. Should UTSA start requiring or enforcing those scores as an admission requirement? Okay, and then we do also have some professional organizations. So the APA, NASP, and also for ABA, we do have a couple helpful links for those as well. Here's going to be my contact information, Dr. Castro Villarreal. She's, as I mentioned, she is our program director for our school psych program and our graduate advisor of record. Right now, I really would like to open up for questions, or if any of our faculty representatives would like to kind of describe their program or anything like that. Awesome, thanks. Edmund, do you want to speak a little bit to how your practicum experience went this past year?
Yeah, sure. I am part of the school psychology graduate program. I did my practicum experience at Northside Independent School District. I was at elementary schools and the one middle school there. For the most part, I really enjoyed being able to work with the faculty that were there, especially my supervisors. They were extremely helpful in getting me the experiences that I need, and it was actually a lot of fun working with the students that had the disabilities and also that were being evaluated for potential disabilities. I think that it was really it was really cool to actually get to practice what I was learning in the classroom and apply that to real world settings. I think doing so, it actually prepared me for the real world and being able to do my internship next year, which I'm also doing at Northside again. If for anyone that might be potentially going into the school psychology program, it's an extremely helpful program if you want to become a school psychologist, or as we're known in Texas as licensed specialists in school psychology. Especially since we have such helpful professors that have tons of experience, and especially since we're NASP accredited, we get a lot of resources. And I'm actually a member of the NASP organization, and so I get a lot of resources there. So it's really pretty cool that you have so many people and so many professionals that are there willing to help you and guide you in the career path to being a school psychologist.
Awesome, thanks so much. Could you also talk a little bit about our graduate student organization? Because I know that you're the
Right.
president of that organization.
Yeah, yes, I'm the president, as I mentioned earlier, of the School Psychology Graduate Student Organization. And so the main purpose of our organization is to support and offer resources to current students in the school psychology program. And the cool thing about it is that you don't necessarily have to be a member of the organization to get support from SBGSO. And so we do a lot of volunteer work with the local communities. We work with the Children's Bereavement Center. We do some toy drives for kids, or for kids that would, I guess, need support from us as well. And we also have our close link to the National Association of School Psychology. And so anything that they provide, like any, I guess, academic articles or any resources, our responsibility is to relay that information to the school psychology students so that they're well informed and can take that with them to their practicum or internship sites. And we become a pretty close knit group, and so really the membership kind of becomes like a lot of friends that continue their friendship and professional relationship even past the UTSA experience. And so I think that it would be really beneficial if you do become a school psychology student to become a member of SPGSO. It's really beneficial, and it looks pretty good on a resume as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. Miranda, did you want to talk a little bit about your experience in the educational psychology program?
Actually, I have fallen in love with it. Originally, I came to UTSA because I came back home to San Antonio and I was ready to go back to school, but I knew that I wanted to go get my PhD or my PsyD program. So I started looking into UTSA, and this was the best fit, and it actually did become the best fit, if that makes sense. Like, I was kind of just jumping into it. I was a late admittee, but they really did, like, pick me up. They made sure I was prepared. I have a wonderful advisor, Dr. Nichols. She really helped me out because I was kind of floundering in the water there for a minute at the beginning. Every professor that I've had, they've been willing to meet, they've been willing to explain. I'm not a part of any organizations just yet. I'm not sure if I will be, but hopefully. And everybody in the master's program is kind of in the same space. Everybody's ready to learn and ready to commit themselves. So it really has been an amazing journey, and it's only the first year, so I'm excited about the second year.
Yeah, Sam, this is Dr. Nichols. Can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not really sure who all is here or what the interests are. I wonder if would be helpful for us to do a brief overview of what these different programs are and what they lead to. Because I know I get that question a lot. You know, what is school psychology? What is educational psychology in particular, since it's sort of, people don't really understand necessarily what it is. And then in the Ed Psych master's degree, of course, as you saw, we have these two concentrations, which are quite different and lead you down quite different paths. So I'd like to suggest we start with that. Thank you. Yeah, pulling that up would be great. Yeah. So just to sort of orient everyone, and I'll leave the certificates aside for now, I think it's useful to understand sort of what these degrees are and what we offer in our department. So I'll just start with where I am, which is in the educational psychology master's degree, but the concentration, which is educational psychology. So it's one track you can follow to get an Ed Psych master's degree. And what educational psychology is it's a broad field that caters to folks who are interested in understanding kind of what it says, the psychology of learning. We focus on education contexts, but very broadly speaking, we want to understand aspects of teaching, aspects of learning. So it's a big umbrella. You can focus in on a lot of specialists in educational psychology tend to focus on one of three basic areas: motivation. They tend to become experts in measurement and statistics, or they tend to become experts in understanding what learning is, teaching and learning. And so our program here caters to the type of student who's interested in aspects of education. You may not want to get a license to practice. Maybe you do not want to do school psychology or ABA, which are very specific tracks that cater to people who have, you know, interest in that path. Our path is more geared to a generalist type of a person who's interested in general principles and aspects of teaching and learning, but who might be considering a PhD, but you might not be sure exactly what you're interested in. Maybe you want to get more research classes. So one aspect of this degree is there's a lot of flexibility in the type of coursework you can take. So Miranda, as an example, we're sort of tailoring her program to focus on learning more about children, adolescents, issues of trauma, issues of mental health. So we're sort of packaging together a set of coursework to prepare her for her goals. So it's a good space for advancing, your thinking on teaching and learning, for maybe considering a PhD program. Of course, you can consider a PhD program in all these programs, but this one is more for someone who may be less certain about the end goal, and it's a good space to kind of figure that out. So that's the Ed Psych general concentration. And if you are interested in that but want to know more, I'm available to talk, and we can talk through your individual goals and interests. And if you have further questions, of course, I'm happy to answer them. But I just wanted to kind of paint that picture because it's often not real clear to folks, and maybe it still isn't, but I'm trying. So with that, I can turn it over to Dr. Neely, who can talk about the behavioral analysis concentration, which is a different track. It still gives you the master's degree, but it's a different track. And so there you go.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nichols. I want to say, and Sam, maybe you can help me explain this the best, but I think, so our concentration is the behavior analysis concentration, but I think when you apply, the application still says behavioral assessment and intervention.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So that's why you're seeing behavioral assessment and intervention up there as the second concentration. It is the behavior analysis concentration, and it's a very structured 2-year program. To become a behavior analyst is it's a licensed and credentialed, nationally licensed in Texas, or a state licensure, and you are licensed to practice the applied behavior analysis therapy which is typically with individuals with disabilities. There's also some applications to organizational behavior. We work in hospitals, in schools, in homes, and just have kind of a broad reach in terms of where human behavior is present and how we can improve the human behavior. The degree is we use a cohort model. So you enter with your cohort. I think school psych is the same, and you progress with your cohort. So you get to know all of your classmates really well, kind of lifelong friends or enemies, right? No, just kidding. Lifelong friends. And you go through kind of three things you need to become a behavior analyst. You need a master's degree. And so that is obviously what we're offering. You need the coursework, 7 courses, and they are all embedded into our master's degree. And then the last thing is you need 2,000 internship hours. And so our program actually embeds that into the degree as well through field work and practicum experiences. So the goal is from the day you start, you're full time in the master's program. We place you in internship sites. All of our internship sites, or the majority of them, are paid internship opportunities. I always tell people it's not the teacher salary you're used to, right? Or the full-time salary, but it's something to offset, pay the bills while you're doing your master's degree. And there's a series of competencies that we've embedded as well. And the goal is really to build you up to be a very flexible and impactful behavior analyst with a range of experiences. We do have a handbook that kind of goes into detail about everything. So like Dr. Nichols said, I'm absolutely available. If you want to email me, I can send that to you. If you'd like to set up a one-on-one, I would love to talk to you and explain a lot about the program. I'll drop my email in the comments just in case you want to jot it down. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we love the program. We have on-site clinics, and we also have a clinic at Children's Hospital that we co-run with some community organizations. So there's just a lot of opportunities as well. Did Dr.
This might be a great time for Katie to kind of jump in, talk about her experience with the program, if she can.
For sure. I was kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Neely just said about the kind of the sheer number of experiences that you get in this program. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that this particular behavior analysis program brings to the table. You're never just going to be in one practicum place for your entire 2 years. There's a bunch of different competencies. So the way that the degree is set up, you have to go into an in-home setting to run all of your assessments and interventions. You have to do it in a clinic. You have to do an in-school competency. You get to work with really, really young kids, but then we also have some adult placements as well. So I think the biggest draw for this particular ABA program is the variety of experiences that you get throughout the degree plan. Is that kind of anything else? We also have a lot of research opportunities. That's kind of the thing that I liked the most, is that there's so many things going on all of the time, and so many new things. If you kind of finish up one practicum experience, there's a new research experience or a new service experience. There's just always new things happening, and I think that's also really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Katie. Dr. CV, did you want to go ahead and speak a little bit about the school psychology program?
Yeah, sure. So our master's in school psychology is an applied professional psychology program. We prepare you as professional psychologists who work in the schools. So our program will provide you with the clinical training experiences and the coursework you need to be eligible for licensure as a licensed specialist in school psychology, and national certification as a NASP provider as well. Our program provides training across 3 kind of broad areas. And we like to think that we train our students very, very broadly. And we train them in the areas of counseling/therapy, consultation, and then evaluation and assessment. So we have real nice and sequenced assessment coursework. And then, likewise, nice sequenced consultation coursework, and then counseling/kind of therapy coursework. So we put you out there having a range of experiences. We do place you in practicum settings. Our practicum is a school-based practicum experience. That practicum does occur in year 2, like Edmund spoke a little bit about. And again, we do place you there. We partner with schools across the greater San Antonio area. So we put you in those settings. We partner with a lot of the inner city schools, and then we also partner with some more rural communities as well. Internship that occurs in your 3rd year is something that you apply for with our support. Obviously, we provide a lot of support in that respect, but you apply for internship right before your 3rd year. An internship can be completed across Texas, and then also, outside of the state. And for whatever reason, I think, a lot of it is because we've encouraged our students who are not tied to San Antonio to seek internship opportunities outside the state. So for that reason and other reasons, we've had a number of our students complete their internship outside of the state. And the internship should be school-based, but at least 600 of your 1,200 hours have to be school-based. The other 600 can be completed in a clinical setting. So we've had a number of our students do that, where they do complete half of the internship experience in a school, and then the other in a private practice or in a hospital setting, to kind of round out that last training year. But again, very applied. It is a specific profession, but it, like kind of what Dr. Nichols said, we very much are a generalist program. So we do provide very, very broad and generalist type training across those 3 major school psychological functions.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I would like to, again, open it up for questions. If any of y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself, and you can ask either our faculty, me, or, our student representatives, any questions that you have. All right. It doesn't seem like there's any questions. I have one question for our student reps. Really quickly, what is something that you wish you had known, kind of starting out your graduate school experience?
I'll go. I really wish that, I think it was just because I was I applied late and I got accepted late, that I really did not know the sorry, I can't speak. The differences between all of the programs and the concentrations. So I actually ended up applying for the wrong one, and my first day at orientation, I was kind of blindsided, and they told me that I was going to be in this 2-year program, but that I would have to do all these hours. I was like, hold on, that's not what I signed up for. But like I said, of course, they helped me fix everything, but it was definitely anxiety inducing at the very beginning, because I felt like I applied for the wrong program, and I felt like I was throwing my entire plan off. So this is really helpful, and I hope it helps everyone understand all the differences and the different goals and the different processes to get to those goals. So that seems really helpful. That was the biggest thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Katie, Edmund, do either of you have response?
Yeah, I can go ahead and hop in. Dr. Seavey and Dr. Neely just kind of mentioned in the comments some other things that we can kind of touch about. So one being the reasons for pursuing this degree. So in behavior analysis, you can work as a registered behavior technician or an RBT if you do not have a master's degree, but all of the other certifications for this field all require that master's degree. And so getting the BCBA certification really allows you to work in, again, those like in a clinic, in the in-home setting, you can work in schools. And there's just a huge need for behavior analysis right now in in our community and in Texas as a whole. The rates of open job positions for behavior analysis therapists is incredible. I don't want to like spew a number at you and if I am totally wrong, but the prevalence of autism is increasing, and with that we're going to need more people who are experts in the therapy that's been proven to support them. So the second thing that she kind of talked about was the experiences relative to the field of psychology or education. I'm gonna guess what that means. So some of the things that I was able to do during the program that have been really supportive in my kind of next steps and in my career was really the research that I was able to get into. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort to really produce some solid work, it'll kind of open all of these doors for you. I thought I was going to end up working in a school because I have a background in special education. And then I learned more about behavior analysis and I thought I was going to work in a clinic. And then I was getting closer to graduation. And I actually did go work in a clinic for a little bit. And then I realized that research was really where I wanted to be. So having all of those different experiences really clarifies and gives you direction of all of the different options for your career and kind of letting you know which ones you prefer.
Awesome.
I think that kind of answers 2 or 3 as well.
So we did get another question in the chat. I am currently a high school special ed teacher and I'm interested in becoming a BCBA. Do you think it's possible to seek the degree and complete all the requirements while still working, I guess, full time? So anybody, Dr. Neely, do you think that would possible? Katie, I'm sure you could speak to that as well.
You want to take it, Neely?
Sure. So there's kind of two possibilities, and for our behavior assessment intervention, the current program, it's really to prepare clinicians and somebody who's going to go out and become a clinician in the future. However, I don't know if it's, I guess it is probably pretty official soon, but we are going to have a separate track where it's just the masters and the coursework and not the supervision. The supervision piece is the piece that you have to be in clinic, you have to be at those different competencies. I will say though, it's very tough to do it as a teacher, mainly because you need to find a supervisor that is allowed in your district or that is part of your district. We did just get a grant to provide some of that supervision. And that is actually starting this fall and going for 2 years. So if that's something you want to learn more about, I'd love to talk to you about it and kind of share how that would work. So I guess, let me just make sure I got the whole question. I would say absolutely it's possible. And it would be tough, but it's possible, and it's even more possible right now than it was maybe last year. So I'm more than happy to kind of one-on-one and talk about your specific situation.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Neely. I do also see another question that came in from Karina. How has COVID-19 changed the way the department is approaching research? So Dr. Neely, Dr. Nichols, Dr. CV, if you guys could maybe speak a little to that, if you're able to, at least.
I can talk. We have an active, we had, kind of sad to say that, RCT, randomized controlled trial, piloting a very early assessment and intervention procedure for infants and toddlers at risk for autism spectrum disorder that was interrupted, in March when COVID happened. I will say something about UTSA and about particularly our department. We're very student focused. We're very responsive. You get, quick feedback, quick people looking out for you and everything. So for our degree and for that program, what we ended up doing is pivoting to telehealth research. So Katie is the project manager for, it's called Project Play, which is the early childhood intervention. And we were able to, pivot to activities that could be done remotely. We reconceptualized the research and the questions that we were asking for this last year, and got the funder to approve it. I think it was all within a month. Everybody was still going, we're still, publishing, we're still, doing our research. So I would say it actually picked up rather than slowed down. I don't know if Katie would confirm that, but I think we were able to keep it going for sure. I don't know, Dr. CV, and I do human subjects, so human subjects research, which is with humans, obviously. So I think it wasn't the project we had imagined, but we have a different project now, and we were able to pivot pretty quickly.
Yeah, and in my world, it's actually been an opportunity to start up more projects because my focus is on teachers and teaching and learning. And so the mechanisms for collecting data, we also do work with human subjects, are usually interviews, surveys, things like that. And all those things you can do virtually. And so Miranda's actually working with me on one project we'll be doing this summer, interviewing teachers. And of course, as you can see, we can do this all virtually. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts sort of the feel of collecting data when it's done this way. But so it's been a shift. And I just, when you do research with humans, you may or may not be aware that, we have to go through a review process. It's called we go through an IRB, Institutional Review Board. They have to vet the project to make sure we're following ethical standards. And a lot of times that process can take quite a while. And I have to say, in my experience, they've been very quick to sort of pivot to, and approve or review projects that are particularly tailored to understanding the impact of this situation on teaching and learning, because I think we have a lot to learn about how the transition to remote learning and online learning and all those things that are going to be going on now for at least another year in some way. So to be able to do research around and on that circumstance is happening and been fruitful and will be interesting. So.
And just real quickly, similar to Dr. Neely and Dr. Nichols, we started providing services remotely and virtually. So we were, or my students and I were right in the middle providing teacher consultation. So then I myself and some of my students turned to providing that support for teachers virtually, remotely, trainings, presentations, all that kind of stuff virtually, and provided videos for them and all types of different resources that they could access on their own time. And then I also continued to provide a lot of support for other graduate students, again, via virtual presentations and things of that nature. So we're able to move pretty quickly. And then our students were able, that I think, and Edmund can speak to this, they had maybe a 1 week, 1.5 week kind of layoff. What are we going to do? And then they started providing telehealth services immediately because they were practicing in the schools, many of them on practicum, and continued providing their special education services and supports the best that they could virtually, remotely, and in different modalities. And I'll ask Edmund to speak a little bit about that, but they did a fine job providing those support services in very limited amounts of time.
Right. Yeah. With my supervisor at Northside, we were able to collaborate with one another and try and figure out what students needed services, especially over telehealth. And so what we did is we did a lot of Zoom meetings like we're doing right now, where we would talk with teachers, administrators. We would talk with pretty much everyone that was involved with the students' IEP team. And we would coordinate ways to facilitate, maintaining their services and how exactly we were going to do that. And it was an interesting way to collaborate with one another, because it's not like, in person, face to face, where we're trying to figure out well, here's what we're looking at and here's what we're going to do. It's kind of like how is it going to fit the student's needs and how is it going to work with the student being at home. And so that was one of the interesting things that the COVID-19 situation has definitely made us kind of adapt to. And we also had information from our professors and also from NASP, who's given us guidance on how to exactly do that. Providing telehealth conferences, telehealth meetings, virtual presentations, and so that was actually really helpful as well to try and collaborate and work with doing such things like that, because this is something that we'd never done before, and it was really amazing to have such help and resources to go ahead and do that.
Awesome, thanks so much. So does anybody else have any questions? Please drop them in the chat. If you do, okay. If not, this session is being recorded. I will be sending out a link to where you can access this, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint that we went over. So if nobody else has any questions, I would like to extend a very big thank you to our student, faculty, and faculty representatives. Thank you so much for taking time to meet with our prospective students, as well as everybody that decided to attend our virtual open house. Like I said, I'll be sending out materials shortly. So if you have any questions, feel free to reply directly back to that email. Thank you guys so much for attending, and feel free to log out. So thank you so much. Thank you, Edmund. Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Katie, for sharing your experiences with us.
No problem. It was a pleasure sharing.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Miranda. Bye.